Welcome back to the content tip of the week. I'm Josh Culler with Culler Media, and today we're going to talk about stock photos and using images and graphics for your content marketing. So I think that images and graphics can be a powerful tool for amplifying your content marketing, even if that one post that you're posting is an image or a graphic. But it goes much even further than that to thumbnails and like ads. So it could go a lot deeper. But we're going to keep it a little bit more high level on just the content piece of it, where you're pushing it out to either promote, educate, or entertain, or whatever it is you're wanting to do. And before you jump off, like if you have a business and you're like, I don't use images, I don't use graphics, I'm not a photographer, I don't know why I would use any images on my marketing, just listen in, because I think that you get a little value out of this, because if you aren't, then maybe your competition isn't, and you could start doing it and then elevate above your competition. So that's just a little bit of a mind-blowing thought there, right? So images and graphics are really bite-sized, what we really call micro pieces of content. So they're literally pieces of content that you can consume within like 5 seconds. So if you have an image that takes 10 to 15 seconds, so it's got 3, 4, 5 sentences on the image as a quote or whatever, a quote graphic, infographic, whatever it is, if it takes somebody more time to actually read what's happening, then most of the time they're going to disengage right away because it's going to overwhelm them. Images are meant to be able to look at them for a brief second, and if it really does intrigue them, then they'll stay on it for a few minutes. If it's an interesting photo, if it's infographic and it's got a lot of great information, but you have a headliner that says something very interesting, and then you've got verbiage underneath it with infographics, then hey, you might make it work. But there are arts to it. Now, I don't want to scare you away with it, but images and graphics are really, really powerful when it comes to content marketing. Almost spit out there. So let's run over kind of what the options are with images and graphics, and then I can give you a few nuggets on each one of these that you can take away with and actually implement. So you got quote graphics, right? So a lot of people use quote graphics. I'll talk about that. Infographics, you got behind the scenes stuff. I think behind the scenes images are very, very much underrated. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, use the stories and upload images of behind the scenes, or even videos, but images of behind the scenes of what you're doing, because those are becoming very, very popular right now, as the stories, and Facebook and Instagram are trying to push those extremely hard right now. So take some behind the scenes. Not every single graphic or image that you put out there has to be this pristine, beautiful photo that a professional photographer took or a graphic designer put together or whatever. A lot of times behind the scenes stuff gets a lot more engagement than actual produced images. So try that out, and I think it'd be helpful. If you're a real estate investor, take images of your before and after of a project that you're doing, or take photos of a tenant that came in the office to sign up for one of your rentals or whatever. So be creative with it, but behind the scenes. You got GIFs. So GIFs are those things that loop, basically. It's a video that loops, and something that's taken action. Those are really, really handy, especially if your business has a personality of kind of being fun and laid back. So I'll talk about that. And then call to actions, and then brand awareness, which is a really big one, which I talked a lot about this in my first episode. So I'm going to go a little bit deep into brand awareness, but not too deep. So let's start. I'm going to quickly go over these, like 30 seconds on each one of these, and hopefully it'll bring you some value here. So for quote graphics, number one, please stop screenshotting images from Google. First of all, when you do that, you have access to this one quote graphic that probably thousands of other people are using. Now, if you come across one and you're like, that was excellent, I want to share that just to get it out there, cool. But if you are an actual business, if you're a brand, if you are a personal brand and you're screenshotting quote graphics, stop doing that. Number one, everybody's doing it. Plus, most of the time when you click on that graphic, it's very pixelated. It just looks like garbage. Like, it doesn't look good. But you're missing out on a big opportunity to be able to put branded content out there, which I'll kind of loop this back full circle on this last point here. But stop screenshotting stuff. Like, be more creative, customize it. And there are platforms you can go to, like Adobe Spark or Pablo by Buffer, that you can take that quote that you liked by Tony Robbins and then actually plug that into this software that will allow you to put your logo on it and your colors and whatnot. And yeah, maybe your brand did not say that quote specifically, but you can use it. You're giving that person that said the quote publicity, so they don't care. So add some branding to it, add your flavor to it, customize it. Don't be lazy. Actually customize it and make it stand out, because then that'll loop people back to your brand and really what you're all about. So that's for quote graphics. For infographics, these are basically informative, but they lead to kind of entertaining aspect of content, right? So if, like I said earlier, you have a infographic of market trends in 2019 in downtown Chicago, right? So you're gonna have a bunch of graphs, and then there's gonna be verbiage underneath them telling you, okay, 2018, 2019, or January 2019, February, March, April, May, and then you're gonna have these levels and whatnot. There's a lot of cool platforms out there. If you actually go to Google and search infographic generator, then there's a lot of like really cool infographic generators that you plug in information and then they'll do it for you. So you can actually upload Excel spreadsheets and whatnot. It's pretty cool. And then you can actually go and then publish that as a infographic on your social media postings, which again is informative, but it's entertaining as long as the information is relevant to your audience and it latches onto them. So make sure though that because infographics have a lot of information on them, you don't want to overwhelm people, so keep it clean, keep it very, very straight to the point, and at the top you should have some kind of a headliner that stands out. It's the very first thing that they see and it tells them what the infographic's about. So make sure that you're doing that. Take advantage of it. And then GIFs are a fun way to connect with people. GIFs are absolutely huge. Kind of started with Tumblr, which is for sale right now, but it was becoming huge. And the reason why is because it's not just an image, but it's not a video either. It's still a bite-sized piece of content, but it has a little bit more action going on than just an image of SpongeBob standing there. It's an image of SpongeBob screaming or whatever it is. And it's a very, very clever way for people to be able to kind of express what they're doing or what they're feeling. So I think a lot of times with GIFs, the way that I use them is I reply to comments with GIFs because it makes people laugh, it entertains them, feels more engaging, feels like you put a little more thought into it unless you're actually typing out a full sentence or whatever, as opposed to just a thumb up or liking their comment or whatever. Like reply with a GIF. It keeps the conversation going and it makes people laugh too. So, but there's other ways that you can actually create GIFs. So Giphy is a really good platform to be able to go. I know my good friend, actually John Morey, if you're friends with him on Facebook, he does a lot of GIFs where he'll actually like post, and they don't always have to be videos. They could be images with just like a funny statement on them. And he always creates these graphics. He finds these pictures from Google and then types in a little bit of a quote that is pretty funny. So try that stuff out. It's very interesting, makes you a little creative, and it's a good way to connect with your audience. And then the couple more things here is that if you have a product or a service offering or whatever, or an event that you need, call to action graphics are great for this. Now with this, you cannot, I just can't express any more than what I'm saying. Cannot fill this with information. You got to be very, very straight to the point on what you're trying to get across in that product, service, or event graphic. The problem that I see with a lot of people is they put too much information in this graphic when they're promoting their product, and it overwhelms people. Create this little graphic, create if you sell backpacks or whatever, take a picture of the backpack and then type a good copy and then lead them to a landing page where they're gonna be able to find out more information, watch a video, read more reviews about it, or see the features of the backpack or whatever. But on that original graphic, that is meant to capture somebody's attention, and then you send them somewhere to find the rest of the information. So make sure that you're like keeping that in mind, and if you need to put text on your actual graphic, keep it very clean, very straight to the point, bold out what you want people to see first. That's extremely important to understand. And then the last thing here is that if you have a brand or a personal brand, brand your graphics. Now, I'm not gonna talk about this a lot because on the very first episode of Content Tip of the Week, I talked about branding your content. It's very important, add your flavor to it. If you go to Coca-Cola's Instagram, everything is red. Everything has their script text. It's incredible, it looks beautiful, and you know exactly what it is if you're scrolling through your Instagram feed because it has their brand flavor on it. So make sure that you're doing that, whether it's your logo, whether it's your fonts, your colors, add something, or if you're a personal brand, add your face to it. I do work for a good friend of mine, Avi Golhar, and we add his face and his signature to every single post that we post on social media, because we want people to keep seeing him and seeing and connecting the fact that that information, that value is being brought by him. So make sure that you're branding your content, extremely important. So got a couple of kind of tail end tips here. And one thing that I would say is consider making your own stock images. Like, for real. So if you are a real estate company, next time you're out at a project that has a dumpy garage or it's like complete garbage, like take a picture of it. Take a good angled picture of it, edit it a little bit. There's plenty of editors out there on your phone or on your computer or whatever. And again, you don't have to have a professional camera. Take a picture with your phone and take these pictures and then use those on your ads or whatever. I think it's extremely underutilized, but everybody can do it. You don't have to be a photographer to create stock images. Just be a little bit creative with it, get good angles, and get in the shot what you actually want in the stock image. So then once that garage is finished and you've got a beautiful looking garage that's been completely flipped, take a picture of that and there you go. You got another stock image. So you get two birds with one stone, and then you can advertise later that, hey, we flip garages. Did you have one that looked like this? We can make it look like this. Be creative with it. Make your own stock images, something to consider there. And then the last thing that I got here is if you are going to use stock images, when I say stock images, that you're getting them from Pablo by Buffer, Shutterstock, iStock, Adobe Stock, any image stock platform, stock image platform, change it up a little bit. Because if you have access to it, thousands, millions of other people have access to it. So if you're really trying to use those graphics to make your brand stand out, then you're not being different from people. Be different. So add a different color gradient to it and on an online photo editor or whatever, or add your logo to it at least. Change the colors, change the fonts. Do something different to it if you are going to use those stock images. And I think that's extremely important, especially if you're trying to build your brand. If you're just a transactional company and that's all you care about, then don't worry about that. Use the stock images that they have there and just go along with the flow. But if you are trying to build your brand, it's extremely important to change it up and make it look according to your brand. So last thing I got here is just a couple of places where you can get stock images if you're not interested in doing your own stock images. Pablo by Buffer is one that's extremely good. They got a really good platform. They actually feed their stock images from a platform called Unsplash, and Pablo by Buffer is owned by Buffer, the scheduling, social media scheduling platform. So they're a good one, and you can actually add your logo, change colors and fonts and stuff like that on the actual platform. So Pablo by Buffer. iStock is pretty decent. Giphy is a place where you can actually download good GIFs and use those and save them to your phone, save them to your computer, and then comment those, use those as much as you want. Adobe Stock, paid stock images, but the thing I found about that is that if you got to pay for your stock images, probably not a lot of people are going to have those because there's a lot of stock image platforms out there where you can get free images. And Google, come on, Google Images. So then that's that one. And then Envato Elements, ENVATO, is great. And Shutterstock is good. So those are kind of some tips on stock images and how to use those, but also using images and graphics for your content marketing. I think it's important to utilize these. If you don't want to do it, find somebody that wants to, because this is something that is extremely underutilized. I know video is huge right now, but because of that, very few people are using images and graphics, but we still got to remember it's bite-sized content and people love bite-sized content. So try it out. That's what I got for you guys today. Hopefully that brought you value. If it did, give it a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching today, and I'll catch you guys next week on the content tip of the week.